It's 25 minutes past 8 o'clock, and I thought I would, for those people who like to read and like to be given some advice about what they might enjoy reading, I thought I would do my normal afternoon book review this morning. The thriller is a new one by the Scandinavian great Nesbø. Apparently that's how you pronounce his name. This one doesn't feature a detective who is in a lot of his books, Harry Hole, which is apparently how you pronounce the name, which is spelled Hole. And it takes place not in Scandinavia, but in Minneapolis in the United States of America. And there is a kind of Scandinavian connection in that the conceit of the book is that a true crime journalist from Norway goes to Minneapolis to investigate a murder which tangentially involved members of his family who did, like many people from Norway and that part of the world do, go to the American Midwest and settle there as farmers and so on. And he goes there and he kind of imagines himself into the perspective of the people who were part of this serial murder saga in Minneapolis some years before. So the killer, who is a sniper and kills people randomly, it seems, but these things are never random. There is always a purpose. And the detective, Bob Oz, who is a kind of typical thriller detective in that he struggles with abuse and he has a troubled history with women. They call him One Night Bob because that's all he spends with the ladies that he manages to seduce one night. And so then you get the different perspectives of people who are involved in this. You get the killer's perspective, you get Bob Oz's perspective, a couple of minor characters. Some of it's told in the first person, some of it is told in the third person. It's not confusing, not at all. All of that works very well. And the characters are fascinating. The story is really gripping. I'm generally quite good at throwing the red herrings aside and going, nah, that's the real killer. This one fooled me. Fooled me completely. And there's some wonderful conversations between Bob Oz and the taxidermist who comes into the story because the room from which the sniper killed his first victim contained a stuffed animal, and it was stuffed by this taxidermist, and their conversations about loneliness and meaning and life. And it's just really interesting and a delight to read. Nesbø, Wolf Hour. And the literary fiction is a love story by the South African-born academic Elleke Boehmer. She's a professor of literature of the Global South at Oxford University. And there's absolutely nothing academic about this book except part of its setting. There are two characters who you meet at the beginning, Leah and Niall, or Neil, Niall, and they meet when both are separately on a train from Scotland to England, and they're seated next to each other. She falls asleep on his shoulder, and that is the cue for love at first sight. And if you're going to build a book on a love at first sight premise, you have to make it absolutely credible and believable from the moment her head hits his shoulder and she starts to snore gently. You have to make it credible and believable that this love affair started then. And Elleke does with such warmth and such tact and delicacy and beautiful writing make this a very credible beginning to a story. They're on very different career trajectories. He is somebody who is a radio technician, and he decides to go and do some communications technology down in the Antarctic, which means that they are going to be separated quite early on in their love affair. She is pursuing a career as an academic and a writer, and they have to communicate across these vast distances. The novel is set in 2010 because by then internet and the sort of means of easy technological communication we have now weren't there yet. So it needed to be set in this time where it was difficult to communicate. And each keeps secrets. He has a secret which arrived in his life as part of a stopover in South Africa on his way to the Antarctic. She has a secret something terrible that happened to her in her rooms on the academic campus where she's working. And so there are technological difficulties with communication. There are communication difficulties because how much do you keep to yourself because you don't want to hurt the other person? No, we need to be face to face. If I'm going to tell this, am I going to tell this? And they all work together, and the Antarctic environment is beautifully sketched. The academic environment, what Elleke knows so well, is also portrayed with great accuracy and understanding, and it's just a beautiful love story written with a literary sensibility. It's called Ice Shock by Elleke Boehmer, Boehmer. And then the non-fiction book, which I'll have to do quite quickly, is A History of the World in 6 Plagues by an American academic who grew up in Haiti. Edna Bonhomme is her name. And the subtitle is How Contagion, Class and Captivity Shape Us from Cholera to COVID-19. And it's not a world history of the plague. It's more of a lashing out at sociological and epidemiological history. Each chapter addresses a different disease: cholera, sleeping sickness, influenza, HIV, AIDS, Ebola, and finally COVID-19. And she arrived with her parents from Haiti in America at a time when the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention had identified 4 supposedly high-risk groups for HIV: people with hemophilia, heroin users, homosexuals, and Haitians. Haitians were the only members of the 4-H club included on the basis of their nationality. And she uses that as a stepping-off point into looking at how poor people, marginalized communities, are confined and bound in by their sociological existence, by their economic class reality, and so are much more the vectors for these terrible plagues, much more the people who suffer most from them. It's angry, impassioned, and I think the better for it. I mean, if you're not in sympathy with the kind of socioeconomic treatise she's putting on the table, you're not probably going to like it much. But I liked it a lot. Edna Bonhomme, A History of the World in 6 Plagues.